what is it that we get to know from this particular book that we have not already known about you? Because you've been pretty open about your life and
Yes. For the first time.
things that you've done. Yeah.
I would say this is the first time for me as a writer that I was happy to be partially naked. It's not the full Monty. It's not about letting it all hang out. It's not about being nanga in public. That's not me at all. But even the sharing that has taken place is not a calculated sharing that I will only do a striptease up to this point and tantalize and no more. The way I was writing the book, it was very organic. It was very stream of consciousness. It was almost real time. It was being written as I was feeling it, and because it's 12 months, right? So pretty much very immediate. So at that moment, that particular day when I was writing, if I wanted to share a special vulnerability, which I've not done in the past at all.
Right.
So this whole mythology of someone like her doesn't cry, does not feel, must be such a tough titty, the whole superwoman rubbish. A lot of it needed to be challenged by me, not through someone else's words, but me questioning that whole thing for myself and for readers who might be interested in the other perspective.
Right. And, how does it feel like to occupy a certain space that you have occupied, that Shobhaa Day is writing, so the book would have certain things, it would have sex, it would have scandal, it would have high society, and people's perception of high society is very interesting. So
Yeah.
yes, all of that would be there. How does it feel like?
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. It's not something that preoccupies me because it's not my problem. If they have sex on their minds, they're going to look for it everywhere and in every corner because clearly they're not getting enough of it wherever they are. So I'm not going to be responsible for the sex quotient that they're looking for in the books. The fiction warrants it when I think it's warranted. I use it also very strongly because women and sexuality in India, especially when I started writing the first book, there was just no space to express it at all. I mean, we had Kamla Das, and then we've had a tradition of erotic poets in writing in Telugu, Tamil poetry. But modern urban Indian readers only got a version of sex which is either Khushwant Singh's version of it, and then he himself started calling himself a dirty old man, which he was not, and sort of degraded it.
Yes.
So the question of writing about sex in a way that it was very liberating for me, but it was also very important for me. I didn't think of it like my mission or something that it's what I'm going to do to fly a flag for sexuality and women. It's how it's being perceived now when there are so many doctorates on the subject of the women in my books and their sexuality. At that time, I was merely writing what I wanted to write. And I 100% told myself while I was writing the books that I have every right to discuss this so-called forbidden topic, which has been taboo for women, urban women writing in India in English. And I'll be damned if I'm going to adhere to any such rules and taboos. So I just went ahead and wrote what I wanted to. Plain and simple.
Right. Did you have trouble finding a publisher to begin with?
No, I've been quite blessed because all the books were commissioned. And I was already a known name because I had columns which had a huge following and readership back then. I was already an established editor. I had already founded Stardust and Society. So in the publishing world, especially when Penguin came to India, and David Devidar was the youngest publisher who was appointed to head publishing in India for Penguin, he came to me and offered me a book, and that was it. So there was no looking back. I didn't think, what is this book going to do for me? How is it going to be received? And I was not given a brief. It was not. David actually told me to write non-fiction, a book on Bombay, and I said, there's no chance I can do non-fiction right now. I was hugely pregnant. Maybe he was a bachelor then and didn't notice how pregnant I was, or he wouldn't have suggested it.
Yeah.
Because, it requires a lot of pounding of pavements and research. So I didn't feel like doing it. So I turned him down. So he said, okay, convert it. to fiction, but just located in Bombay, which, of course, there's no other city I could have located in because, and since then, Bombay has been like a character rather than just a locale in all my books. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Shobha Day and Bombay are almost synonymous. Your portraits from modeling days are all over at the
Yeah.
Taj.
Yes.
That's
yes.
where when I went there for the first time, I was like, okay, I know, and I was little, and I was like, okay, I know this woman. Who is she? And then, oh my God, Shobha Day. This is young Shobha Day.
Yes, I started modeling in the 70s, and a lot of those images, because they were shot by the top photographers internationally and in India, most of whom are dead, unfortunately. Those images have a very strong recall because they were just so wonderfully composed and wonderfully shot. And in those days, pre-social media, even the advertising world wasn't as overpopulated as it is today.
That's right.
So the pictures stood out because they were beautiful pictures. So yeah.
And you are beautiful.
वो सब पता नहीं, but pictures were certainly beautiful.
Have you paid a price for being beautiful and stunning as you are, or because and this is a very serious question,
Okay.
or has it helped you?
To answer that 1st, never. Helped me, never. But
I guessed as much.
never. But am I going to play victim and say, oh, because of my great and astonishing beauty, I'm not taken seriously? Not at all. This is how I look. This is how I write. These are my books. Take it or leave it. I'm not going to be apologetic about the way I look. And I enjoy being who I am. So it's a problem for someone else. It really is a problem for someone else if they can't deal with it.
Right.
But yes, it has been the very first review of my book in India Today, the huge headline. Tarun Tejpal. He used to handle books in those days. And it says, her looks sell her books. So I said, wow, that's fabulous, because if people are willing at that time, the books was 300 rupees, to see a postage size picture of the author at the back, and they're going to buy the book only for that reason, I must be doing something brilliant for that to happen. Years later, of course, we became, slightly friendlier than we were. What started off with that her look seller books, and it smarted. It hurt. I was upset for a while because it sets the tone for the other reviews that come.
Yes.
The first review is always crucial for any book, any writer. It was followed up by Bichi Bachi, as I call her, Bachi Karkaria, in the Times of India, writing a huge piece, calling it The Days of Wine and Poses, WHINE. And she's still punning 55 years later, and the puns are still as dreadful. So, so with Arun, I got my own back many years later, and I tease him about it now. We can laugh about it. And I said, when his first book came out, someone asked me to review it. And I said, it's a pity his looks don't sell his books. In a way, I got my own
This
back.
is incredible. I have to ask you a question about your marriage and your husband. We always see him fabulous as ever. Always, he has your back. Is that right?
Always, always, always. I have his. Come on, it works both ways. But yes, the reason we married and the reason the marriage has been as it has been, a stable, good marriage for over 40 years, is because he's a man who's very comfortable in his own skin. He's not some insecure little ninny saying, oh, my wife gets attention. Yeah. He revels in what I do. He's proud of me. He's taken a lot of flack. A lot of men would not take flack. He's a business person. Even my political views, I'm sure, impact a lot of what he does. But he has never, ever, ever turned around and said, can't you be doing something else rather than getting into trouble every 2 weeks? Never. So I guess, it's worked because he's a very confident man. And a man less confident about himself would have bored me to tears within 2 months, 6 months, and I would have walked all over him, he'd have become like a doormat. But he keeps me on my toes, and he keeps me very insecure because his praise, it may be all there, but it's very judiciously, it's like morsels are handed out. When I had to almost beg him and plead, say, you've not said anything. Kuch to kaho. So even when we are going out, he's in front of the mirror, looking at himself. Is this okay? Is tie okay? Is this? And I said, what about me?